If you enter the U.S. illegally and commit a violent felony like murder or rape while you're here, hey, bring your bags and move in. Stay as long as you like. Your illegal entry has made you an American. You committed crimes while you're here, well, everybody has issues. That's the new immigration law the Democrats are pushing through in Washington. No more deportations. And worse, they want to jam the program through using reconciliation. No filibuster, no Republican support. It'll pass 54 and 50 against, with Harris breaking the tie. Since Biden took over, deportations of illegal immigrants have dropped 84% anyway, without any change in the statute, from 152,000 a year to only 25,000 a year. And most of those were in the pipeline while Trump was still there. As soon as he took office, Biden ordered federal prosecutors to use what he euphemistically called prosecutorial discretion. In other words, stop the deportations. In 2018, we deported 800 murderers and 400 rapists. Now they're welcome to stay. In fact, Biden's orders to the Justice Department specify that nobody can be deported for drug crimes, assault, DUI, money laundering, property crimes, goes on, fraud, tax crimes, or solicitation. And for murder, only if it was committed in the past 10 years. Otherwise, he can't be deported. There's no statute of limitations for murder in most states. But under Biden's prosecutorial discretion, you can't be deported for murder unless you've killed somebody lately. The Center for Immigration Studies reviewed the 95,000 criminal aliens who were deported 2 years ago and found that 91,000 would not have been deported under Biden's new rules. And deportation orders themselves aren't a big deal anymore. They're not enforced. There are officially 1 million foreigners who the court has ordered to be deported, but are still here. Unofficial sources put the number higher, 1.5 million. And remember who these 1.5 million new neighbors of ours are. They all came here illegally. Then, while they were our uninvited guests, they robbed us, raped or killed one of us, sold our kids drugs, or routinely drove drunk. We caught them, prosecuted them, and they were convicted, and in some cases, even after an appeal. Then we ordered them deported, and again they paid no attention, went right back into our communities, for all we know committed other crimes, and wouldn't leave. Now, most are eligible for amnesty. The Democratic bill even stops the deportation of people who came here illegally, were ordered deported, flouted the order, and stayed here, and then were rearrested. Our message to them, hey, stick around. What's the rationale behind ending deportations? Do we really want these folks in our country? We've focused extensively lately on new people coming in to the United States and trying to cut them back, 1.5 million last year. But this program talks about the other end of the process. Once they're here and they abuse it and they commit crimes, we don't send them home. Why not? Democrats act for one big reason: votes. There are 5.5 million criminals in the United States today who are not allowed to vote. Felony disenfranchisement is what the left calls it. Their dream is imagine what 5.5 million new voters would mean in U.S. elections. And which party would they vote for? The one that wants to let them go, or the one that wants to lock them up or throw them out? You guess. It's all part of a pattern with the Democrats. Let the criminals vote so they can outvote the cops. Organize the teachers so they outvote the parents. Get illegal immigrants out to vote and give them citizenship so they outvote the legal folks. In the meantime, they try to fool us by changing the vocabulary. Oh, did I call those guys illegal immigrants? Or worse, illegal aliens? Wrong, my mistake. They aren't illegal aliens or even illegal immigrants. They are just undocumented, in the words of the Biden administration. You know, like they forgot their wallet and left it home that morning. Of course, there are a lot more people who need to be deported under Biden. because 2 years ago under Trump, the Border Patrol encountered 682,000 people crossing illegally in the first 8 months of the year. Last year, Trump brought it way down to 235,000. But so far this year, it soared way up to 1.2 million. 1/3 of the deportations are of children who crossed illegally. Half were not accompanied by an adult. A quarter had been sent back 2 or 3 times before, came back in, were arrested, were deported, left, came back, and the cycle has continued. Remember the heart-rending pictures of children held in cages at the border? Biden's welcome mat for illegal immigrants has generated such an outpouring of children sent alone to cross the border illegally into our country that upwards of 25,000 unaccompanied children are coming into the U.S. each month. The previous record month in June of 18 was 11,000. Can you imagine a mother and a father sending their child unaccompanied to enter the United States and risk everything by breaking the law and entering, and then hoping that the delays in the system, the bureaucratic stuff, and the Biden generosity, ill-considered, will let them stay there? It's like casting your kids into the wind and hoping for the best. The Democrats are also pushing for a broad amnesty to let illegal immigrants of all descriptions stay here without fear of deportation, and please God, register them to vote. About 8 million people would be covered by the Democratic amnesty, including hundreds of thousands who committed felonies while they were here. COVID hasn't changed much at the border. Americans have to get vaccinated, but there's no such requirement for those entering the country. And if a potential immigrant tests positive, we don't send him back. He's welcome to stay here. Biden says that's because he doesn't want to spread COVID around the globe. But spreading it in the U.S., that's okay? The Biden people are cloaking their demand for universal amnesty by saying that they mainly want to legalize DACA children. Children brought here over the years with their parents, when neither parent was legally allowed to enter. The argument for amnesty is that these kids are now grown up, didn't break the law knowingly. They just came here with their families. Okay, but Trump and the Republicans have always been willing to give DACA kids a legal status. But the Democrats wouldn't pass it unless every other illegal immigrant got amnesty too. They didn't want to lose the issue. The DACA kids were their poster children for universal amnesty. There are 600,000 DACA immigrants in the U.S. today. Okay, let them stay and become citizens. Many of them have lived here almost their whole lives. But don't let the Democrats use them as a cover story for giving 8 million amnesties to illegal immigrants who knowingly and deliberately came here despite our laws as adults. Legal immigration, that's something else. Legal immigrants generally make model citizens. They commit many fewer crimes, are less likely to be unemployed, and pay their taxes. Republicans want to expand legal immigration, but they want to give preference to those who have skills that can help our economy. Democrats want to use them as what they call anchor babies, who they can use to bring in family members legally. No skills required.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.